But I invite you to join me inside the building over here where I can talk about it. Okay, back inside. First round in a load and fire will be a ceremonial loading and firing where I talk you through those 13 steps. The second round will be a little bit faster, and if you wish to time me, I'd ask you time from the bang to the bang. If everything works out okay, I should time up between about 9 and 13 seconds. With blank, cartridge, prime, and load. So you move the musket to the right-hand side of the body, open the frism to expose the pan. The next order is handle, cartridge. Reach back, grab onto a cartridge, bite off the top. Prime, pour some of the gunpowder in the pan. Close the frism to hold the gunpowder tight. Cast about. Now the rest of the powder, the paper, and the ball, if there was one, now goes down the barrel. The rammer is used to seat the cartridge at the bottom. And I cannot stress how important it is to put the ramrod back. I mean, some people think that's an excellent projectile, and I don't disagree. I just think it's an awkward projectile. And the awkward part is going across the field and asking for it back. They tell you in the manual, tap it. Make sure you have put it back. If it's left in the barrel, there's a good chance you're going to create a shish kebab on the other side. Hey, ready? Present. Fire. Well, I wanted to show you what a misfire looks like. And there's many reasons why the musket might not go off, including on a windy day, the spark gets blown away from the pan. But take a look at the smoke. It's fully conceivable that I can get dressed up in the best camouflage known to modern man today. I could paint my face, I could stick leaves and trees and rocks and things like that in my hat. I could hide in this field and look like a bush for days. But let me ask you, how many times have I fired this weapon before somebody said, that bush just fired at me? You cannot hide. It's impossible. A single shot, the cloud of smoke says. So the bright red suit was done for a few reasons, and one of them was self-preservation. I'll explain. Most people are surprised by the amount of smoke produced by one weapon. One weapon does not a whole battle make. Given the way the wind is moving, if we put 100 men in the field behind me and they fired, the smoke would come across us. We would lose each other at this distance. That's 100 men. On Tuesday, the 27th of May, 1813, 6,000 American soldiers came to take this fort. Imagine 500 giving fire. You create what became popularly called the fog of war, where it gets so smoky, you can't tell the difference between the good guys and the bad guys, and frankly, that's kind of important. Friendly fire is not a new concept. You don't want to be shooting at your own guys. So the British are famous for standing there in the bright red suits with, as we call them, the shoot me here cross belts and tall black hats, while the Americans are standing on the other side of the battlefield all dressed up in bright blue suits with the shoot me here cross belts and tall black hats. The Hessians, the Prussians, the Spaniards, the French, the Swiss, the Dutch, the Portuguese, every modern army wears bright colors, if they can afford it. They had to wear the belts because it holds on to your stuff. Later on in warfare, it's referred to as webbing. You've got all your ammunition attached to the one side, your bayonet on the other. The choice for the tall black hat. It's the most fashionable thing to wear. But they're standing in long lines, blazing away at each other because everybody's using the height of technology, the musket. So my weapon is now safe. If you'd like to have a closer look at it, I am available for birthdays and bar mitzvahs. You should feel the weight. We'll start at this end. About 5 kilo, or about 9.5 pounds. Essentially, they tell me this is the weight of your head. You lift off your color, if it's a light weapon, then the energy created inside is transferred to you, right? If it's a heavy weapon, it soaks up a lot of that energy. You're taking an ounce of lead and going from 0 to about 700 or 600 feet per second.
It's not that heavy.
Did you want to try? Okay. Do you want to try? You got it?
I have a question. How do you keep your coat so red and shiny? In the battlefield especially.
Well, the red coat you never washed.
Oh.
Because it's a non-color fast dye.
Oh,
If
okay.
you wash it, well, 245,000 men flouncing about in pink coats is not a threatening army.
Okay.
So the red coat was worn only for battles, funerals, parades, and weddings. If you do get mud and other dirt on it,
Yeah.
you take a dry brush and you brush it off. You try not to expose this to water. In the rain, something you can't avoid. And that's when everyone starts to turn a little bit more pink. Your shirt gets a little pink on the inside. You're wearing white pants, sometimes it stains into your pants and so forth. So generally you don't do much to keep the red coat clean, other than just not try not to get it dirty, right? So you're not washing it.
Cool.
The brass is cleaned with a red brick dust and oil.
Okay.
It rubs off the oxidization. So on my cap here, on my breastplate there, all the brass on the musket. For the belts, you're using a pipe clay powder, and on the boots, you're using a blackening ball, which is a wax ball with carbon, very similar to black polish today.
Cool. That's hot.
So having shiny boots don't make you a better soldier, but it means you've applied enough wax to your boots that you're starting to waterproof the boots. That was the interest in getting these guys to do so much polishing.
Cool.
Okay, let's go inside. You're welcome to join us inside. That was our warning shot. So I'm going to use the 1804 platoon loading exercise, a step-by-step procedure that was used to teach the soldiers how to load and fire the musket. You'll see all the steps the first time. The second time I go through it, I go faster. You may not see the steps, but they are still there. If you wish to time me, I'd ask you time from the bang to the bang. Everything works out okay. I should time out somewhere between 9 and about 13 seconds. I apologize about having you guys face directly into the sun. When I'm finished with the demonstration, I'll turn myself the approved range that we have right now. So, here we go. With blank, cartridge, prime, and load. So you move the musket to the right-hand side of the body, open the frizzen to expose the pan. The next order is handle, cartridge. Reach back, grab onto a cartridge, bite off the top. Prime, or some of the gunpowder in the pan. Close the frizzen to hold the gunpowder tight, cast about. Now, the rest of the powder, the paper, and the ball, if there was one, now goes down the barrel. The rammer is used to seat that cartridge at the bottom. And I can't stress how important it is to put the ramrod back. I mean, yeah, you can fire it. Some people think it's an excellent projectile. I think it's an awkward projectile, and the awkward part is going across the field and asking for it back. So, they tell you in the manual, tap it. Make sure you have put it back. If it's left in the barrel, you're probably going to create a shish kebab on the other side. Okay, ready? Set. Fire. Take a look at that smoke. It's fully conceivable. I'll stand on the other side so you don't have to stare in the sun anymore. It's fully conceivable.
Sorry, can you say that again? I didn't get it.
Well, I can assure you that 200 years ago, nobody had the time or the patience, I suspect, to say, "Hey, Pete, can you hand me my short line pattern tower for lots of bombs musket, please?" The name is reduced down to 2 words in brown best, so the chosen 2 words. 3 main pieces make up every musket, and the Army buys those pieces separately from their makers. The makers send the pieces individually to an assembly plant. The Tower of London is a pretty good example of an assembly plant in our period. At the tower, the 3 pieces arrive, they're put into the final package, so when the soldier receives his weapon, rather famously, he receives it lock, stock, and barrel. The moving pieces on the lock, you have a frizzen, F-R-I-Z-Z-E-N. This is nothing more than a hardened piece of steel. Its main job is to hold the gunpowder into the area below it, called the pan. The other moving piece is the hammer, and in the jaws of the hammer we have a flint. Flint is a stone that's hard enough to maintain a sharp edge, sharp enough to dig in and scratch off pieces of metal. At a high enough rate of speed, those pieces of metal form sparks. We hope. Those sparks fall down into the pan. We hope. That ignites the gunpowder you put in the pan. We hope. That ignition goes through a small hole on the side of the barrel. We hope. And that sets off the main charge. On a good day. 5 foot 6 inches tall, 16 years of age. You had to be a male. Well, the male portion of that was not always adhered to. We know of at least 2 females that disguised themselves. They snuck into Wellington's army. They fought very bravely against Napoleon's troops in Spain and Portugal, right up until they got injured and sent to the doctor, and the doctor recognized there was a few changes, and they were asked to leave. But the height requirement, you can understand why they had a height requirement given the size of these weapons. Sadly, in the last 100 years, they've tried very hard to convince you and I that people were actually smaller back then. And yes, people were smaller 200 years ago because McDonald's did not exist. But no, they were not nearly as short as we've been led to believe. The average height of a human animal has changed by less than an inch in 200 years. You need to go back almost 1,000. That's one of these things here. Simply put, this is a paper tube. It contains 110 to 120 grains of black powder. Had this been a live round, it'd be a white piece of paper instead of blue for blank, and you would have seen the projectile, a 68 caliber soft lead musket ball attached down here at the bottom. 68 caliber, 0.68 of an inch. To give you something to compare that with, movies and television talk about a 22. That's 0.22 of an inch, or 1/3 this size. The 9mm is rather famous today. It's a millimeter shy of a centimeter. This is 1.42 centimeters. It is a massive projectile. Of course, we don't fire live ammunition today. We find that cuts down on repeat visitation. But the twist at the top is where the teeth come in handy. Because during the loading procedure, you're holding the weapon in the left hand. You don't have time to untwist it. And I can assure you, if you're lacking those teeth, it's a lousy afternoon trying to gum your way through the paper. So you had to be able to bite open the top of the cartridge and pour some of the powder into the pan. Close the prison to hold the gunpowder tight. Cast it out. Now the rest of the powder, the paper, and the ball with the ball on top goes down the barrel. The rammer is used to seat the cartridge at the bottom. Put the rammer back and you're ready to fire one shot. And today, but 200 years ago, this is the machine gun of the day. This is capable of firing between 3 and 6 times a minute. All right, doesn't seem like it's all that fast. So let's compare it against another weapon of the period, a rifle. And for those who don't know, rifles that's going to cause the ball to come out with a spin, which, by the way, everything that comes out of small arms in our time period is called a ball, which is why it's a study of ballistics, not bulletistics. Meanwhile, everything that comes out of a cannon, they fire shot. Grape shot, canister shot, round shot. You heat up the round shot, they change the name to hot shot, bar shot, chain shot, spherical case shot. You ever notice the Olympic sport is not ball put? Now, when the ball is spinning on the way out of a rifle, it's highly accurate. So accurate, you can pick off somebody dead between the eyes at 300 yards away. And the Germans perfected this. Germans were using rifling as far back as 1648. So nearly 200 years prior to this war, they already have extremely accurate weapons that can get you long distance.
So this is a musket.
Yes.
But a rifle it might look like this, but has that spiraling on the inside.
Spiral on the inside.
Oh.
The problem with the rifle is, before that ball can come out with a spin that makes it highly accurate, he's got to put it in with the spin that makes it highly accurate. That's where he runs into a problem. Because whenever you load and fire a black powder weapon, you leave behind a black powder fouling. Black powder itself is sulfur, saltpeter, and charcoal.